Good evening, everybody in Lukman Nation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, stop that. To a special episode of Lukman Nation on a Monday night. This is not regular, but we have to do this because the last show we did on Friday, on last Friday, for the inaugural episode of the Black Labor Bulletin, something weird happened. We had a really crazy, violent thunderstorm roll in into the Washington, D.C. area and flat out knocked the power out right in the middle of a dope show. So there was no way I was going to not finish the discussion that we were getting into and having such a great discussion with our guest from last Friday. So that is why we are having this special part two edition of the inaugural episode of the Black Labor Bulletin. And if you haven't figured out, and if you don't know, I am Jackie Lukman, the People's Prophetess. You are in Lukman Nation, the most dangerous show on social media. You are watching on Black Power Media, the most dangerous platform on social media. Thank you all so much for joining me again tonight. Look, if you haven't subscribed to Black Power Media, you should subscribe. Make sure you click on the bell so you can get notified whenever any content is uploaded to this channel or anybody goes live. There are so many amazing, dope shows on this channel, and more are being added all of the time. So you don't want to miss everything that we have here for you on Black Power Media. But look, I'm not going to waste any more time on a whole bunch of stuff. I am so glad to be joined once again by Richard Hooker, Secretary Treasurer and Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 623, representing the UPS workers up in Philadelphia. Richard, thanks so much for joining me again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back again.
Absolutely. And I mean, life happens, and
Yeah.
I know that you are as the principal officer of your Teamsters local. I know you are so busy. You all just had a general membership meeting Sunday. And we could have done this yesterday, but I know how our meetings are with the Black Alliance for Peace. We have the official meeting, and then we have the meeting after the meeting, where a whole lot more stuff gets talked about and done sometimes than the official meeting. So I'm glad that I wanted to let you all just, have that time. And I didn't want to interrupt that really important fellowship that you all needed to have, especially as you all are inching closer and closer to a potential strike on July 31st. The contract is up with UPS and UPS workers on July 31st. Since we talked Friday, have negotiations moved any farther? Has anything changed?
Nothing has changed. We're still waiting for word from either side to see what's going to happen. 2 weeks left. That's all we have.
2 weeks left. And for people who may not have been watching Friday or don't know what's going on, why are UPS workers who have you all have already voted to strike a few weeks ago? And the vote was almost unanimous. It was what, 98%? 97,
97.
yeah,
97.
97% of UPS workers voted to strike. Why did you all vote to strike?
Well, UPS has been just really taking advantage of our labor. We made them the most money they have ever made in their existence. And, the way, excuse me, the way they treat our members, the hostile working environments, the harassment, the retaliation, intimidation, the bullying. I can go on and on and on. Members have had enough. And when you throw the pandemic in there, the COVID-19 pandemic in there, we didn't have the choice to stay home. We didn't have a choice. We had to go to work because America needed us. UPS needed us. And now our members, they know their value, they know their worth. It's not like they didn't know it before, but this pandemic really pushed a lot of members to the edge. And when a company is large and profitable as UPS, when that type of treatment continues to happen, the only thing you can do is fight back. Whenever a bully If a bully keeps bullying you, he's not going to stop until you punch him in the mouth. And
Hmm.
so I think what's going to have to happen come August 1st, that bully needs to be punched in the mouth if we don't get a deal done by August 1st.
I'm all for punching CEOs, corporate bosses in the mouth. Punch them all in the mouth. And
Absolutely.
Richard, I think that the US media does a grave disservice to workers, and they're really trying to frame the impending strike in a way that makes it seem like we're supposed to feel sorry for UPS, the company, right? Because there a lot of outlets talk about how what the workers, what you all are asking for, would be painful for the company. And they do talk about how this strike could be more damaging to UPS than the 1997 strike in that UPS that happened against UPS, which was a 15-day strike, and that cost the company at the time $850 million. $850 million. 15 days UPS workers went on strike in 1997 and cost the company $850 million. And I guess the media brings this up because I think they want us to feel bad for UPS because, oh my God, we don't want UPS to lose more money than that. But I kind of feel like what you all are demanding would actually cost less money if UPS just paid you what you asked for rather than have you go on strike and cost the company a trillion dollars, I suppose.
Absolutely. And if the company can afford $5.8 billion in buyback stocks, that money could have went into reinvestment into their members.
Mm,
$5.8 billion. This contract is not going to cost $5.8 billion, but they don't see it that way. They see us as expendable, disposable people who should be lucky that we have a job. That's how they feel, and that's how they treat our members. But again, this is not the same working class of yesteryear. You have a lot more younger people. Social media is heavily involved. Technology is heavily involved. So people are just not going to sit and take it anymore,
mm.
and they're fighting back. That's why you see the actors, the writers, Starbucks, all different kinds of people. A Waffle House down south. I mean, we're seeing this because workers are fed up with the bosses. I saw this video on TikTok where I don't want to mispronounce the sister's name, but her last name was Glasper, and she works for SCIU up in Northern California.
Hmm.
And she delivered a message to, I guess, with some type of management, told them they had 10 days, or we're going to picket, and this is going to be a small glimpse of what you're going to get if you don't start treating our brothers and sisters right. And that's what's happening across this nation. Those workers are demanding more. They know their value. They know what they bring to the company. And they know that these companies would not function without our labor. And, again, UPS bought back $5.8 billion worth of stock. That money could have went right into the workers. They got plenty of money, plenty of it. And so if they don't want to come up off of it, either way, they're going to have to come August 1st. Either
Hmm.
way, I would rather go ahead and get the deal done and not lose money than not getting it done, losing money, and still having to come to terms with our demands. It's just that
Exactly.
simple.
And I'm so glad you mentioned the other industries that are facing workers strikes, because there's a video on YouTube that I saw the other day of a UPS driver up in California who was driving by the SAG AFTRA picket and slowed down and honked in solidarity with the striking actors and writers. And you mentioned the Waffle House workers, you mentioned other workers. Do you see a coalescing of workers across the country, not just across the country, but across industries, particularly this summer, as you see what you just said, that workers, partially because of social media, I think, and the information that they're more easily getting through social media, do you see like a coalescing of workers and worker solidarity across uh um what's the word I'm looking for, across different jobs? So it's not just, delivery drivers, it's not just UPS drivers, it's across different professions. Do you,
Right.
do you see something like that kind of happening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, workers are understanding that in order to win, we all have to work together because each worker is fighting the same boss. It doesn't matter if you work for Amazon, UPS, Target, these SAG AFTRA brothers and sisters, the writers, Waffle House. It really doesn't matter. You can change the spelling, you can change the name. It's still the same enemy. All of us are fighting the same enemy. And I think once we realize that, we will be more of a force to be reckoned with because if the workers don't show up to work, America dies.
Mm,
Nothing moves, nothing is being served, nothing is being made. I mean, UAW may be going on strike here come in a couple of
that's
months.
right. Hmm.
So you're talking about the auto industry shutting down, no package deliveries with UPS. Um, no movies, no TV shows. You're talking about just workers are saying, you know what, I've had enough, I'm done. Whenever you get your act together, then you come talk to us. But I think this is the perfect time to do it because it's not like America, the CEOs, it's not like they don't know they need us. I think it was this pandemic that really brought it to our attention that they needed us. Because I think sometimes we get dependent on our paychecks and all this kind of stuff, and that we forget that we're more than just a paycheck. We're more than just a pension fund. We're more than just healthcare. We have the power to shut down nations, shut down companies, shut down employers. And I think once we really realize that and weaponize that, there's nothing that no industry, CEO, company will be able to do with us.
I love that. I absolutely, and the more I hear about workers rising up and organizing to demand better from the bosses and really to kick the bosses' asses, like literally in their paychecks, in their profits. I love that. But Friday, we started to talk about the fact that you represent a particularly unique and very important segment of UPS workers. And I think this is indicative of the segment of US workers that are always the most important when we're talking about organizing labor. And that is, your local is predominantly Black up in Philadelphia.
Right.
And we started talking about how historically, in labor struggles in the US at least, labor was successful when they organized from the bottom up, meaning that they made sure that the least respected workers, the most marginalized workers, which in this country were usually Black folks and immigrants,
Hmm.
when the most marginalized workers are organized and when we fight for them, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Do you still see that as a part of the labor struggle that you are engaged in, not just with this strike, but as this kind of ongoing arc of the history of US labor, particularly as it pertains to Black workers?
Yeah, when you bring in the most marginalized group of people, when you uplift them, you really uplift, like you said, everybody. You become stronger. You become more powerful as an organization when you uplift the people that's quote unquote at the bottom. If you look at what we did here at 623, that's what we did, and we focused on that because we realized that not just about race, but the majority of my local are part-time workers,
Mm.
marginalized workers, poverty wage workers, and so we did a lot of organizing around getting more people involved, engaging. our members, because right now we have this thing that we introduced when we got elected, was this Unite Committee. Is basically a lot of part-time workers, because part-time workers need to identify with other part-time workers.
Mm.
People get more involved when they can identify with who that person is, the classification, the culture, the race. It's a lot different knowing that, hey man, we hang out at the same malls, we go to the same movies, we worship at the same churches, whatever the case may be. If I can identify with you outside of work, then I'm more comfortable with you in your messaging at work. And again, when you have a membership which is about 70% African American, then you need to speak to what is concerning to our people, right? George Floyd, Breonna Taylor,
Right.
all those issues. You know, I'm in Philadelphia, man. We got, and I know you're down in D.C., man. There's a lot of crime in these areas, but it's not talked about from a labor standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
I have members tell me, hey man, I feel more safe at work than I do at home. And UPS is not a safe place. But I'm dodging bullets trying to get to work, and I'm dodging bullets trying to get home. You know, how can the union step in and talk to those issues? Because it's one thing to try to get people to be more informed, to be more engaged. But what are you doing for them outside of work? Like, you know,
Right.
they are not just union members doing their shift. They're union members when they go home, when they are out in the movies, they still pay union dues weekly. So why not try to get involved in um, everything that our members do? When the pandemic hit, part-time workers, some of them lost their other full-time jobs due to the pandemic. So what we did as a union, understanding that, hey, we're going to have a food bank, we're going to
Wow.
have clothes, we're going to have diapers, we're going to have milk. If you need it, come and get it. No cost to you. Because we understand that we do more than just make sure that the supervisors are doing what they're supposed to do, enforcing the contract. Because you know they need to know that they can lean on us outside of just hours from 9 to 5. You know, and that really benefits our people of color, because we don't get access to a lot of things. You know, we're cut off from a lot of these programs. You know, we're cut off from middle class jobs, high wage earning jobs. So the union is really supposed to benefit you know people who need a voice, and who needs a voice more than black folks.
Mm. That is I love the meeting the material needs of the people in the
Yeah.
union where they are, the mutual aid. You're not just dealing with issues on the job. You're really, that's community building. That's really what that is. That is community building. That is how you organize people. Just they just happen to be in the union, but that's how it's done. And that is
Hmm.
a beautiful thing to hear. And I'm so glad that is going on. And as you know, we've got a couple of weeks left in this month. UPS workers. I know that the co-host of my show, Sean Blackman, who we both talked with you on By Any Means Necessary last week. He's been going to the practice pickets that have been carried out up here, and I mean, y'all are ready, right? And it's you're ready to hit the streets, but UPS is doing something very interesting. And I want to share this article because I I thought it meant one thing, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it means something else. Yahoo News is reporting that let's see, UPS said it will begin training non-union employees in the US to step in if there should be a strike, which the union has vowed to do if no agreement is reached by the end of this month. Now, I who are the non-union employees that UPS is talking about training to do the job of UPS workers who go on strike if that happens?
Management people, management personnel. Yeah, they're going to try and train the management to do our jobs. Um, Good luck with that.
Uh,
So it's not going to end well if it does come to it. But listen, that's their plan. And that's the problem that with UPS that I always have with them. They're so cocky and arrogant that they really believe they can train the management to do our jobs. All they got to do is just do the right thing in negotiations, and then all this will be done. But again, UPS being UPS, they would rather just cost themselves millions and billions of dollars instead of just doing the right thing. But they're gonna find out the hard way, and that's on them.
I mean, I don't. So the management who have been sitting in air conditioned offices at UPS operational headquarters, while the UPS drivers and the warehouse workers work in conditions where they don't have any air conditioning, and that they're gonna, all of a sudden, the management who's been sitting in the offices, they're gonna deliver. We'll see
I
how that
told
works out.
I told them in our practice picket at both locations. The president of our district was up in her office along with some of management. I told them August 1st, make sure they wear their brown uniforms and shine their shoes up real nice. And I had everybody turn around and wave to them because I want them to know that we're ready. And I kept telling them, hey, listen, man, it's hot in those trucks. And I told them, hopefully nobody passes out. Hopefully nobody passes away. Make sure they have plenty of water because they're going to need it. They can't do those jobs. They cannot do those jobs, and they're gonna find out when it's 100 degrees outside and it's 130 back in the back of the truck, and you're trying to find a package. They're gonna find out how egregious these working conditions are. And we had a little fun, and we told them make sure they take a lunch and make sure they put in the board correctly because we don't want nobody to get fired. We was messing with them. But they need to know how our members feel out there every single day with the constant pressure and harassment, man. When you coming in, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, if they don't have a deal by August 1st, it's gonna be hot in those trucks in those warehouses. It's gonna be very hot.
Put them brown uniforms and those
There you
brown
go.
socks on. Put them on.
Yep. Put them on.
That I would love to see. I would
I
I would
would too.
laugh derisively at them. Another funny thing that has happened is that the Teamsters president, Sean O'Brien, has asked the White House nicely not to do what Joe Biden did with the rail worker strike. This is being reported by The Hill magazine, and they said that Teamsters president Sean O'Brien told UPS Teamsters union members over the weekend that the White House has been asked not to intervene if UPS workers strike, saying the administration should be concerned only with corporate greed. It's amazing. It is amazing how the White House has nothing to say to the corporate members who would rather risk $1 trillion in not giving you all what you demand and what you deserve, quite honestly. But as soon as the workers strike, then here comes Joe Biden jumping in, like what he did with the rail workers, saying, oh
Hmm.
no, we can't have a strike because that would cripple the US economy. Well, that's the whole point of a strike, to prove to the people in the US and the corporate bosses that they don't exist. They cannot exist without labor. That's the point of a strike. So to avoid a strike, you don't break one, you give the workers what they're worth. That's what you do. But that's not what Joe Biden did with the rail workers. And I have no I'm under no illusions that he wouldn't do the same with UPS should you go on strike. But Sean O'Brien said we've been very clear with the White House. Um, we told the White House, and I use this analogy throughout our negotiations, throughout our rallies and practice pickets, that we have taken a strong position with the White House that, my neighborhood where I grew up in Boston, if two people had a disagreement and you had nothing to do with it, You just kept walking, which Joe Biden should do, even though he doesn't do that very well. And we echoed that to the White House on numerous occasions, and we don't need anybody getting involved in this fight. And they talk about the intervention of the White House in the rail worker strike. Sean O'Brien went on to say the White House shouldn't be concerned with the Teamsters. They should be concerned with corporate America, who keeps making billions upon billions of dollars off the sweat of our members. We're not going to allow anybody to implement a contract that the Teamsters don't want, I'm sure is what he means. So, I mean, it's strongish language, but I feel like that's not strong enough language for the White
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like after reading that and hearing about it, it sounds like to me that they have already notified O'Brien that they plan on intervening if they need be. That's what it sounds like to me.
House.
Again, the Democrats, Republicans, they serve the same master, and it's not the workers. It's corporate billionaires. It's not working class people. Um, I, listen, I kind of wish that Mr. O'Brien, I wish he would have said the same thing to those railroad when that whole railroad thing. I wish he would have brought that
Mm-hmm.
up to them then, but he didn't. And so now it seems to me as if he may fold if Biden comes in again. I don't know, but it
Wow.
seems like to me that the Biden administration already plans on intervening if this thing goes too long. Hopefully, it doesn't happen, but they do need to keep their nose out of our business. If he's going to continue this whole mantra of being the most pro labor president, well, you already screwed the railroad workers already the first time.
Uh-huh.
So now here we go again. If he does it this time, he needs to stop saying that. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I with the rail worker strike, I wondered why the rail workers didn't continue with their strike. And I get this is, a rhetorical kind of question, but what would happen? What would happen if, among the workers in the Teamsters, if the White House comes in and says, no, you can't strike, we need to, we're going to force you to take this contract. Do you guys do you all stay on the do you all stay on the picket line and defy the president?
That's something that the O'Brien and his staff will have to make a determination. And then, but the other part is this, and I know this is something totally different. If Biden does do that, what happens when they come knocking on our door for endorsements? Do we still
Oh,
endorse them? Do we
oh,
still give them our money after you
uh-oh.
done after you done said, hey, okay, railroad workers, you got to go back to work. Now you're going to do it again to the UPS workers. What what do we do then? Do we still give them our money and our endorsements? But I know that's a different conversation for another day. But what do we do then? Because it's I mean the election is what next year I believe 24.
2024. That's
Yeah.
right.
So I would wonder what will be the outcry from the workers, from the Teamsters, from all these other organizations if the Biden administration does that yet again. What would we do as labor to say, okay, we're not going to continue to give us give you our dollars, but that's something totally different there. But I'm just throwing it out there.
No, that is actually, to me, that's not different. That is the same thing.
Yeah.
That is all a part of this capitalist exploitative
Hmm.
system, and that's the political part of it. And for folks who are asking in the question in the chat, um, UPS is not a federal agency. So unlike the railroad workers who, because they are a part of the federal government, they are constrained by federal government regulations that told them that the government could step in and stop a strike. very much like Ronald Reagan did with the air
Yeah,
traffic controllers.
yeah,
But UPS is not a federal government agency. So the workers don't have to listen to Joe Biden if they don't want to. He ain't their boss.
right.
So,
But we'll see. But it
but we
sounds like to
shall
me,
see.
yeah. But it sounds like to me that the Biden administration has already let O'Brien know that, hey, man, if this thing gets out of hand, we're going to come in and do what we need to do. Because you don't put that statement out there saying that unless they've already have identified that, hey, man, we're going to step in
Hmm.
somewhere, somewhere or another. If this thing goes due south, we're going to step in. But again, we'll see. We will see.
We shall see. And I cannot wait to see either UPS fold and do what is right and
Hmm.
give you workers what you deserve, or UPS corporate bosses continue to be intransigent and disrespectful of the people whose labor made them their billions.
Yep.
I either I would much rather you workers get what you deserve, and particularly this separation between part-time workers and full-time workers be done away with, and that all of the workers be treated and paid and given benefits on an equal footing. But you know what, it would be equally as delicious for me and for workers around the country who are also tired of the corporate theft of their wages, because that's
Hmm.
really what this is.
Absolutely.
That's really what these labor struggles are about. Let's be clear, folks. This is not an ideological difference of opinions between, workers who don't understand workers who don't understand how things are run, and the corporate bosses and the managers who know who run things. No, no, no. This is all of these labor struggles are the result of corporate bosses and the management classes stealing the wages of the workers who make them their money. That's just it. They take most of the labor, most of the profit from the labor of these workers, and then they slide a few pennies across the table to these folks and expect these people who are making this money, knowing that the people they work for are making millions, billions, if not trillions of dollars, and then are turning around and saying, well, we can't afford to give you a raise. We can't afford to give you more benefits than that. And people are not stupid. They may not have all of the right, terminology to explain things, but workers know when they being robbed.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
And that's
absolutely.
exactly what is happening across the country. So when you see folks watching, when you see working class people in any profession, I don't care what the profession is. I don't care if it's actors, writers, in Hollywood, UPS drivers, Waffle House employees. When you see workers on a picket line saying enough is enough, pay us what we're worth, don't you dare cross that picket line,
That's right.
because us supporting workers getting what they deserve, that benefits us. That strengthens us. And that weakens this capitalist system when the workers understand that we have power and we're one step closer to a system that the workers control. So, what do you have to say for folks as they are watching and waiting for the next couple of weeks? What can they do? How can they support UPS workers as they do the practice pickets? And what do you all need from us to support you?
Well, I think conversations like this need to continue. Also, if we do go on strike, I would hope that everybody would come out and just donate some water, some food, time, just stop by and talk to the striking workers. And also let UPS know through social media, through letters, through whatever the case may be. Let them know that you stand with us. Like I've always said on multiple media outlets that listen, when America needed us the most, we delivered. And so we're asking for America to deliver for us. Just stand with us, because again, we didn't have the option to stay home. We didn't have the option to, just be secluded. Man, we had to show up in the heat. We had to show up in the COVID. We had to make sacrifices. We had the hope. We had the hope every day that we didn't bring it home to our families.
Mm-hmm.
We had the hope that we didn't do that. Some of us did. Some of us lost loved ones because of that. And we still showed up to work. So, and UPS is going to be UPS. They're going to want the public to forget that, but we have to remind them that all those profits were made off the back of our sacrifices. So, just really just stand in solidarity with us. Um, just go out to the picket lines. If there's a practice picket going on, you know, go out and show solidarity there as well, because the only way we win against UPS and other employers and these greedy CEOs is together. Whether you're non-union or union, all of us are fighting the same enemy, all of us. And so we need to work together, fight together, weaponize this solidarity, and really take back the labor movement. It doesn't belong to the bosses; it
Mm,
belongs to us.
absolutely. And got a couple of questions for you. Are you all in talks with FedEx workers? That's a good question because, part of the discussion is, oh, if UPS goes on strike, then, all that business will go to FedEx. Yeah, we don't care. But we do care about worker solidarity.
hmm So in '97, the FedEx workers actually stood with the UPS workers. So it's going to happen the same way. Amazon workers, FedEx workers, because the pilots have already said that they're going to stand with us. So nothing's going to be flying, nothing's going to be driven,
Wow.
nothing's going to be delivered. So and that's how you really you win. So yeah, we got everybody together on this. Everybody.
Wait, the UPS pilots
Yep.
have, wow.
Yep.
That is dope. That is absolutely dope. And then Quaker Anarchist asks, is there an official strike fund that we can support? Because while people are on strike, they still have bills, they still have, material needs. How can we help with that?
So whatever area that you're in, I would research to find out the nearest teams to local and reach out to them and ask how can you donate. That would be the best way to do that.
Fantastic. Richard Hooker, thank you so much for joining me twice.
Right.
I appreciate it, and whatever happens in 2 weeks, we'll have you on again to talk about it if you're willing to come back and give us an
Sounds
update.
sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. I'll be
Fantastic.
honored.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll be watching. We'll be waiting. Solidarity, brother. Thanks so much.
Always. Thank you.
All right, peace. So that was fantastic. Thank you so much, you all, for joining me. I wanted to answer this one question from oh, where did it go? Where did it go? From, doggone it. About the Taft Hartley Act, and if I can talk to how it impacts labor struggles today. And I cannot, here it is, there we go. Um, can I talk about the Taft Hartley Act and how it impacts the growing labor movement now? I can't do that today because I'm not prepared to talk about that today, but I can talk about that soon. So, on the next Black Labor Bulletin on the first Friday of next month, that will be a part of the discussion. So, thank you all so much for joining me for this special part two of the inaugural episode of the Black Labor Bulletin in Luke Mon Nation. Join me for the first Friday of every month to talk about all things Black labor. Appreciate you. As always, be good to yourselves and be good to each other. As I always say, a luta continua. The struggle continues. But if you keep fighting, I promise you, Victoria acerta. Victory is certain. Peace.